So today we're tackling the question that literally keeps people up at 2 a.m. scrolling through Reddit threads. Should you pay off your debt or start investing? And look, I know what you're thinking. Matt, I'm drowning in student loans, my credit card is giving me anxiety sweats, but everyone on Twitter is posting their Robinhood gains and I feel like I'm missing out on the rocket to the moon. I feel you. I've been there. And today we're going to figure this out together. Because spoiler alert, the answer isn't as simple as the finance bros on YouTube make it seem. But don't worry, we'll break it down so by the end of this video, you'll actually know what to do with your money instead of just stress-eating Chipotle while contemplating your life choices. Let's get into it. So here's the deal. You've got debt. Maybe it's student loans, maybe it's credit card debt, maybe you financed that Peloton you used exactly 3 times. We're not here to judge. And at the same time, you keep hearing about compound interest, index funds, and how if you don't start investing in your 20s, you'll be eating cat food in retirement. The pressure is real. On one hand, you've got Dave Ramsey screaming at you through your phone to pay off every single cent of debt before you even think about investing. On the other hand, you've got people on TikTok making videos about how they became millionaires by investing early and leveraging good debt. And you're just sitting there like, cool, cool, cool. So which one of you is actually right? Here's the truth. They're both kind of right and kind of wrong depending on your situation. I know, you wanted a simple answer. But personal finance is called personal for a reason. What works for your roommate who got a trust fund for their birthday might not work for you who's out here working 2 jobs. Okay, so let's start with the most important factor in this decision, interest rates. Now, before your eyes glaze over, stay with me because this is actually pretty simple. Think of it like this. Interest rates are basically the price of money. When you have debt, you're paying someone else for the privilege of using their money. When you invest, you're hopefully making money grow. So the big question is, which number is bigger? Let me give you an example without turning this into a math class because I promised no crazy calculations. Let's say you have a credit card with an interest rate of 24%. That's pretty common, unfortunately. That means every year, if you don't pay it off, you're essentially losing 24% of whatever you owe. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open. Actually, it's worse. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open and someone's down there with a bucket throwing more water out. Now, let's say the stock market historically returns about 10% per year on average. Emphasis on average. Some years it's up 30%, some years it's down 20%, but over the long haul, we're looking at around 10%. So here's the million-dollar question. Does it make sense to invest and potentially make 10% when you're guaranteed to lose 24% on your credit card debt? No, obviously not. The math ain't mathing. If you've got high-interest debt, and I'm talking anything above 7, 8%, that needs to be your priority. Not because I'm being boring and responsible, but because mathematically, you're just throwing money into a fire. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is where Dave Ramsey and I are going to have to agree to disagree. Not all debt is created equal. Some debt is like that toxic ex who keeps texting you at 2 a.m. You need to cut it off immediately. Other debt is more like that office friend who borrows $20 every Friday and actually pays you back on Monday morning. Annoying, but manageable. Let's break it down. First is high-interest debt, the toxic ex. This is your credit card debt, payday loans, personal loans from sketchy lenders, or anything with an interest rate above 10%. This stuff is an emergency. If you've got this kind of debt, stop watching YouTube videos about investing and go attack this thing like it stole your identity. Because essentially, it kind of is. Credit cards are the worst offenders here. We're talking 18, 24, sometimes even 29% APR. That means if you owe $5,000 and only make minimum payments, you could end up paying back $12,000 over the years. That's not a typo. You're literally more than doubling what you borrowed. It's highway robbery, except you signed up for it. And payday loans? Don't even get me started. Those things can have APRs of 400% or more. That's not a loan, that's a trap. If you've got one of these, treat it like your house is on fire. Drop everything and deal with it now. Store credit cards, buy now, pay later plans that you missed payments on, anything that's charging you double-digit interest, these are all in the toxic X category. I don't care if Bitcoin is definitely going to the moon this time, or if your cousin's friend made 500% on some meme stock. High-interest debt will destroy your financial future faster than you can say to the moon. This is the debt that keeps you poor, period. Number 2, medium interest debt, the complicated relationship.
This is stuff like student loans, car loans, personal loans from legit banks, or sometimes federal student loan refinances sitting somewhere between 4 and 8%. This is where things get interesting and where you actually have to think. Student loans are the classic example here. Federal student loans usually sit around 4 to 6%, and private student loans might be a bit higher. The thing about student loans is they're often massive. We're talking 30,000, 50,000, sometimes over 100,000. So even at 5%, that interest adds up to real money over time. Car loans typically fall in this range too, especially if you've got decent credit. Maybe you're paying 5 to 7% on that Honda Civic. It's not ideal, but it's not a financial emergency either. Here's where the decision gets personal. If your student loan is at 5%, you could reasonably argue that investing might make sense since the market historically returns more than that. But, and this is a big but, that's assuming the market cooperates, you're emotionally ready to invest while carrying debt, and you're not going to panic sell when things get volatile. Some people can sleep at night with $40,000 in student loans at 5% while they invest. Other people feel like they're suffocating under that debt. Both reactions are valid, and that's why this category is complicated. There's no universally right answer here. It depends on your numbers and your feelings about debt. Number 3, low interest debt. The friend you actually like. This is your mortgage at 3%, that 0% APR car loan you somehow managed to snag during a dealership promotion, or maybe federal student loans you locked in at 2.75% back when rates were crazy low. Honestly, if you've got debt at these rates, congratulations. You basically got free money, especially when you factor in inflation. Let me explain why. If inflation is running at 3% per year and your mortgage is at 2.5%, you're essentially getting paid to borrow that money. Wild, right? The money you owe is becoming less valuable over time while you're barely paying anything in interest. Mortgages are the big one here. Most people who bought or refinanced between 2020 and 2021 got rates between 2.5 and 4%. If that's you, pay the minimums and invest the difference. This is what people mean when they talk about good debt. You're leveraging cheap money to build wealth elsewhere. Those 0% APR car loans or promotional credit cards with 0% intro periods, same deal. Though you'd better make sure you pay them off before that promotional period ends or you'll get slammed with all that back interest. Like, if someone offered to lend you $100,000 at 2.5% and you could reliably make 10% with it, you'd be silly not to take that deal. That's literally how rich people operate. They borrow cheap money and invest it in things that make more money. It's not financially aesthetic, but it works. Okay, so we've covered the math, but here's the thing that the spreadsheet nerds always forget. You're not a robot. You're a human with feelings, anxiety, and probably some weird relationship with money based on how your parents handled finances. The psychological side of this is huge, and honestly, it might be more important than the math. As I touched on earlier, I know people who have $10,000 in student loans at 4% interest, and logically, they should probably invest instead. But you know what? That debt keeps them up at night. They can't focus at work. They feel like they're not real adults until it's gone. They check their loan balance more than their Instagram. For people like that, paying off the debt first makes total sense, even if it's not mathematically optimal. Because what's the point of having an extra $2,000 in your investment account if you're spending $5,000 on therapy because money stress is destroying your mental health? On the flip side, I know people who are totally cool carrying reasonable debt. They sleep like babies with $30,000 in student loans because they've got a solid repayment plan and they're watching their investment accounts grow. These people are built different, and that's okay too. You need to know yourself. Are you someone who can handle the stress of debt, or does seeing that balance make you want to throw your laptop out the window? There's no wrong answer here. Well, actually, there is a wrong answer. Ignoring both your debt and investing is the wrong answer. But choosing which to prioritize based on your mental health, that's smart financial planning. Now, here's where I'm about to blow your mind. You don't have to choose just one. I know, revolutionary concept, but hear me out. The hybrid approach is actually what I recommend for most people, especially if you've got medium interest debt. It's like having your cake and eating it, except the cake is financial security and eating it is... Okay, this metaphor got away from me. Here's how it works. First, get rid of any high-interest debt as fast as humanly possible, like yesterday. This is non-negotiable. If you've got credit card debt at 20%, I don't even want you thinking about stocks right now. Second,
Make sure you've got a small emergency fund. I'm talking like $1,000 to $2,000, not $50,000. We're not trying to prepare for the apocalypse here. Just enough so that when your car breaks down or your phone dies, you don't have to put it on a credit card and restart this whole cycle. Third, here's the fun part. Split your extra money between debt payoff and investing. Maybe it's 70-30, maybe it's 50-50, maybe it's 80-20. It depends on your interest rates and your personal situation. Why do this? Because you're getting the best of both worlds. You're making progress on your debt so you can sleep at night, but you're also investing so you don't miss out on years of compound growth. Plus, starting the investing habit early is huge, even if you're only putting in $100 a month. Let me tell you why this matters. Let's say you're 25 and you decide to wait 5 years to start investing because you want to focus 100% on debt. By the time you're 30, you start investing $500 a month. Cool. But if you had just invested $200 a month during those 5 years while paying down debt more slowly, that money has had 5 extra years to grow. And because of compound interest, which is basically money making money making money, those first 5 years are incredibly valuable. Trust me, starting early matters a lot. Okay, so we've covered the basics, but let's talk about some special situations because life is messy and doesn't fit into neat little boxes. If your employer offers a 401k match, take it. I don't care if you have debt, I don't care if you're broke, take the match. Why? Because that's literally free money. If your employer matches 3% of your salary, that's an instant 100% return on your investment. Show me any other investment that's guaranteed to double your money instantly. You can't because it doesn't exist. So here's what you do. Contribute enough to get the full match, then attack your high-interest debt, then figure out the rest. If you've got variable income, maybe you're freelance, maybe you work on commission, maybe you run a small, struggling channel, no judgment, this gets trickier. You can't necessarily commit to paying $500 extra on debt every month because some months you're eating ramen. For you, I'd suggest being more aggressive with debt when you have good months and having a bigger emergency fund than normal, maybe 3 to 6 months instead of the usual 1 to 3 months. If you're expecting a big tax refund, a bonus, or an inheritance, you might want to adjust your strategy. But here's the thing, don't count on money you don't have yet. That's how you end up disappointed and broke. Here's the bottom line. The debt versus investing question doesn't have a one-size-fits-all answer, and anyone who tells you otherwise is either lying or trying to sell you a course. The math matters, interest rates are real, and compound growth is real, but the psychology matters too. If debt is ruining your life, pay it off even if it's not mathematically optimal. Your mental health is worth more than an extra percentage point of return. For most people, the hybrid approach makes the most sense. Get that employer match, build an emergency fund, kill high-interest debt, then split your focus between medium-interest debt and investing. It's not sexy, it's not going to make you rich overnight, but it's going to set you up for long-term success. And remember, the most important thing is that you're doing something. Whether you're paying off debt or investing or doing both, you're way ahead of the people who are just ignoring their finances and hoping everything works out. If this video helped you figure out your strategy, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment and let me know. Are you team pay off debt first, team invest first, or team do both? I want to hear your strategy. Thanks for watching. Go make better financial decisions.